There was a time in the recent past where adult and child alike would wait with anxious enthusiasm for their mailman to bring their next installment of their favorite gun magazine. Field and Stream, Guns and Ammo, Sports Afield, and of course the Shooting Times were at the top of the heap. The readers would clamor for the long-range shooting exploits of Elmer Keith or the intercontinental hunting adventures of Jack O'Connor. These men influenced and inspired generations, whether hunting Cape buffalo or squirrel. The adventures sparked the ambition to get outside, test their hand, and make their mark. When speaking of the legends of the pantheon of gun riders, my favorite, and possibly the most influential over the last 60 years, is none other than Charles Allen Skeeter Skelton. Born amidst the Great Depression, Skeeter was quite possibly the last vestige and voice of the rough and tumble West. As a child of Texas, he learned at an early age to love the outdoors and became skilled with firearms. He served his country in the United States Marine Corps, and in 1949, he would start his career of wearing a badge. He would go on to be a key player in various law enforcement agencies, including the Border Patrol, the U.S. Customs Service, the DEA, and was the sheriff of Deaf Smith County in the Panhandle of Texas. These experiences would shape his voice and generate stories for decades to come. An avid hunter and part-time gun rider for a variety of publications, Skeeter would leave law enforcement and would eventually become the handgun editor for the Shooting Times in 1967. Skeeter held that position for the next 20 years. If you haven't read Skeeter, you are missing out. He does not only write gun articles, he paints elegant narratives for his readers, feeling like more of campfire stories from a bygone era. From his stories of Dobie Grant, the mentor and friend we wish we all had, to his Depression-era childhood anecdotes with me and Joe, and of course, the numerous questions of fictional reader Jug Johnson. These stories you go back to time and time again, and you end up telling your friends over a glass of Henry McKenna. Skeeter was associated with many guns and calibers. The 5-inch Smith & Wesson Model 27 is largely associated with him, as well as his famous 7.5 grains of unique over a 250 grain hard cast bullet from the Lyman 429-421 mold for his beloved 44 Special, affectionately called the Skeeter Load. But the gun most closely associated with Skeeter Skelton is none other than the 7.5-inch Ruger Blackhawk flat top and 44 Magnum. Skeeter wrote about many exploits with this gun and was photographed using it more than any other gun. The Ruger Blackhawk flat top was initially offered in 1955 in .357 Magnum, but the 44 Magnum came out in 1956 and was offered in 3 barrel lengths, the most commonly being a 6.5-inch when 25,660 were made. Of the 7.5-inch, only 2,700 made, and in the 10.5-inch, 1,500, totaling 29,860 total flat tops ever made. Skeeter's favorite barrel length in a single action was 7.5 inches, and that gun was quite hard to find. So when he walked into Bud Moffitt's gun shop in Clovis, New Mexico in 1960, he was glad to fork over the $50 in order to obtain this near new Blackhawk. He liked the gun because it was lighter than the Super Blackhawk. It has a Colt-style grip and rounded trigger guard. He stripped the polish off the grip, exposing the bare aluminum, polished it up, and he took stocks off an old .357 Blackhawk he had. He fitted them down, shaped them perfectly, making them nice and slim. Though he owned multiple 44 Magnums throughout his life, this gun became Skeeter's favorite and was his trusted hunting companion, taking many animals across the West, until his untimely death in 1988. Most notably, the gun's grips are quite slim, but it makes the sharp recoil of a .44 Magnum exceedingly manageable. Though he was best known for the .44 Special Skeeter loads, he shot stout Magnum loads out of this gun. He corresponded with his good friend and fellow writer Elmer Keith to develop the specific load for this gun, and boy did they love it. The accompanying holster is an early fully floral carved, unlined George Lawrence 120, who was one of the greatest holster makers of the time. In fact, it's the same style holster and the same carving pattern that housed Elmer Keith's famed No. 5 revolver. This very holster is still replicated today by some of the finest holster makers to ever have sewn cowhide. The belt that Skeeter wore his Lawrence 120 holster on was acquired by his friend and subsequently carved. This revolver helped to usher in the golden era of handgun hunting, inspiring generations to try their hand and skill in the field. The gun's provenance is unadulterated, with the gun going to Bart Skelton, Skeeter's only son and a celebrated federal law enforcement officer and writer in his own right, taking the possession of the Sixgun and rig just after Skeeter's death. Bart sold the gun just before his own death in 2022. It's bold to say, but this 7.5-inch Ruger Blackhawk just might be the most influential Ruger ever made, inducing dreams of grandeur and glory within the Western landscape. Skelton's favorite hunting companion is now available for the first time ever on the auction platform, and it's waiting for its first collection to be admired, to be talked about, and to be shot. A working man's gun that launched 1,000 dreams. Skeeter's stories will always live in our hearts and memories, but his prized Sixgun can now live in your collection, and it's only available at Rock Island Auction Company.